All right, guys. Hey now. In today's video, I'm just going to go over 3 different wheels with you guys. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not going to go over tech specs and stuff like that because there's a bunch of other guys out there that are much more qualified to do that than I am. I'm just going to go over how does it feel, how does it look, how does it work, you know, simple things like that. But I'm also going to cover a few different things that maybe sometimes people don't think about when they're buying a wheel. Now, there are cases where, say you're buying a Fanatec wheel and you have a Fanatec base. You just plug the wheel in and you're good to go. That's it. You don't have to buy anything else, just the wheel. Say you're buying a Simagic wheel. You have a Simagic base. You just plug it in, you're good to go. It comes with the QR already on it. But what if you want to buy the grid wheel and you have a Fanatec base? What do you do then? A lot of people think you have to buy a Fanatec wheel to use with a Fanatec base. And that is not the case. There are adapters that you can buy, and any wheel will work with that Fanatec base. So that's some of the things we're going to cover, and we're going to cover overall expenses, stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Okay, guys, so today we're going to talk about these 3 different wheels. It's going to be the Fanatec V2.5X or the 2.5, whichever you prefer. The X just designates that it is Xbox compatible. The next is going to be the Simagic GT Neo, and then we have the Grid MPX. Now, the cheapest of these 3 wheels is the GT Neo. It's $289 plus tax and shipping if you have that. The next is going to be the Fanatec V2.5, which I believe has come down in price. It's at $350 now. If you get the non-X version, I believe it's $340 at this point. Then you have a huge step up to the MPX, which is $1,099. So basically $1,100, which means you could buy 3 of the GT Neos and still have a bunch of money left over. You could buy 3 of the Fanatec V2.5Xs, still have a little bit of change left over, or you can get the grid. So, I mean, there's a huge difference there, but there is a big difference in quality as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about the Fanatec V2.5X now. Overall, this is a good wheel, other than those absolutely horrible plumbing coaters. Those things, you just pretty much look at them and they'll switch. So never, ever, ever put anything important on those if you get this. It's pretty well documented how bad these things are. Shifters are great. The problem is you only get a left and a right, up and down shifter. That's it. If you want clutches, or you want the top shifters that you can use. I used it, for example, as my traction control up and down. You just click that real fast. If you want those extra paddles and clutches on the back, you're going to have to get the advanced paddle module, which I believe is $180. So, you know, $180 on a $350 wheel. So now you have $530. Adds up quick. You're also going to get the QR1, which is pretty well known to have some wobble and slop and play and stuff like that in it. So it doesn't really affect you terribly, but you can notice it. And when you get a solid quick release system, you definitely notice it after that. I didn't notice it at first, didn't think it was terrible until I got a regular, you know, a good QR. I noticed it immediately, how much more solid that everything felt. So that's another thing. If you want the QR2 system from Fanatec, you're going to be paying a good chunk of change as well. That's not cheap. Just to upgrade your QR. That, I mean, to be honest, it should have came with it to begin with, because it's not great. It's not great. So those things said, overall, it's not a bad wheel. The buttons, you have no LEDs. You do have LEDs. You have your rev counter, and you have 3 LEDs on either side for your flags. Other than that, that's it. None of the buttons light up, nothing. This wheel is dated. It, you know, for its time, it was good, but I think it's a little bit past its prime at this point. But again, if you only have $350 and you have a Fanatec base, grab the wheel, slap it on, you're good to go. You're moving. You don't have to buy anything else. So now let's talk about the GT Neo. Okay, so what can we say about this wheel? It pretty much broke the internet, as far as sim racing is concerned anyway. Everybody needed to get this wheel as soon as they saw pictures of it. $289. A wheel that cheap usually looks and feels really cheap. This wheel for $289 is a steal. If you have a Simagic base, I don't know why you don't have this wheel already. Comes with 10 backlit LED buttons on the front. Has 4 encoders on the front. Each one of those encoders has 12 LEDs on it. It's got a rev strip on it. It has 15 LEDs. Comes with shifters and clutches. And it looks like forged carbon fiber. It's got rubberized grips, and it already has a QR on it. Now, the QR is only going to work if you have a Simagic base, but if you have an Alpha or a Mini or whatever, and just click it on and you're done. I don't even know why you're still watching this. You should have bought that thing already. But if you don't have a Simagic base, $20 piece. They sell an accessory for $20. It's called a MagLink. You unbolt the one off the back, put this new one on, plug the wire in, 4 screws, done. 2 minutes worth of work, and you can put this on literally anything. Hooks up with a magnetic USB. You plug it directly into your PC. Doesn't matter which wheelbase you have. And of course, you need to buy a QR that's going to match your wheelbase. But I mean, for $310, you can literally put this wheel on anything you want. I mean, it's still $40 cheaper than the Fanatec wheel. And this thing, to me, is a way better wheel. It's 300 millimeters versus 270 that the Fanatec is. So it's a bit wider. It's good for all kinds of racing, all kinds of GT cars and anything like that. You can use it for Formula One if you want. The grips are a bit chunky. Now that's all subjective. Maybe you like a bigger, thicker grip. Maybe you like the smaller grip. I tend to go towards like the medium. These are pretty big to me. These are the fattest grips that I have on any of the wheels that I own. They do have a rubber coating on the grips, but it's very thin, I believe, because the grips don't have any give at all. So if you death grip that wheel for whatever reason, or you have to do a long race, it may fatigue your hand a little bit. The Grid MPX has rubber grips, but they are soft. They're firm but soft, if that makes sense. This does not have that. The grips are very, very stiff. The buttons are, you know, they look pretty and everything, but you can see hot spots on them because there's only, I believe there's only one LED behind each one. So it does look very much brighter in the middle than it does on the outside of it. Doesn't look terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but you can definitely see where the LED is behind that. Comes with a good set of stickers on it. You know, overall, you really can't complain about this wheel. I mean, it's $289. Again, $289 isn't a little bit of money, but it's definitely not a lot when you're comparing other things against like the Grid. You know, those wheels are a very premium wheel, but you're going to come with a premium price. But as far as this wheel, I mean, I can't see a reason for you not to buy it. Even if you have a Fanatec base, they do make adapters. You could, if you have a DD1 or a DD2 laying around, you can get one of these adapters. Okay, that just goes right into your DD1 or your DD2. You can put any wheel you want on there. Of course, you're going to need a QR. So you can get this QR right here. Now you can put any wheel you want on your DD1 or your DD2. They also sell other adapters for if you have maybe a DD Pro or something like that, a 5 or 8 Newton meter base. You can get a different kind of adapter that'll go into it, and you can still use this wheel on there, and you'll still be paying about the same for this wheel as you would for any of the halfway decent Fanatec ones. And then you can use any wheel you want on your Fanatec base. So I honestly don't see a reason why you don't have this wheel already. So that being said, let's move on to the Grid wheel. So the MPX I pre-ordered before it came out, and waited a few months for it to come out, and I was not disappointed. Like straight away, this wheel felt amazing. And coming from the Fanatec wheel to this MPX was night and day. Like I said earlier, I thought that the Fanatec was nothing wrong with it because that's all I knew. But then when I got this Grid wheel in my hand, I mean, you can tell the difference. Again, you're paying $1,099 for this thing. So $1,100 for this thing. It's a premium price, but it is a premium wheel. The only thing that I have a problem with was the shifters coming from the advanced paddle module, the APM from Fanatec, which I love those shifters. I still to this day love those shifters. They're very weak in comparison. Well-known YouTuber, Dan Suzuki, talking to you. He makes it a point to pretty much bash these shifters at every opportunity he can. And for good reason. They're very light. Took me a while to get used to them. Now, they made a second run of these, where the first run, the magnets were glued in. You couldn't take them out. The second run, they didn't glue them in because they listened to people, because Grid is a very, very, very good company. If you have any issues with Grid, you can reach them through email or Discord, and they answer you almost immediately. Very, very good. I mean, this thing shipped from the Netherlands, and it was at my door in 2 or 3 days. So very, very good service there. I haven't had an issue with it. The only thing, like I said, was with those shifters. I put a couple of extra magnets on the back of them, and I really don't have an issue now. And maybe it's because I've been using this wheel for about a year now, and I've kind of grown used to the way the shifters are, but that was the weakest part of this wheel by far. The grips are not too thin, not too thick. I think they're pretty much perfect for my case. They're very firm, but they're also soft at the same time. So your hands just don't get tired using this wheel. The buttons, they have 4 LEDs on the back. There's only 8 buttons on the front of this compared to the 10 of the GT Neo. But there's 4 LEDs in the back of each one of these buttons. So they are completely lit. There's no hot spots or anything like that on these buttons. Every LED on this thing, there's so many LEDs that it comes with its own power supply that you plug in, because the standard USB doesn't put out enough to power all the lights on this thing. Now, there's no rev strip or anything like that, but all of these buttons, just like the ones on the GT Neo, they're all programmable through SimHub, or Grid has its own software as well that you can use. But SimHub, you can just do anything. You want flags, you can do flags, blue flag, yellow flag, white flag, whatever you want. These LEDs will light up all over the place on this thing. You can do crazy little animations with the wheel, on startup. You can do this as well on the GT Neo. But on startup, the lights will make all different kind of colors, and checkered flag, it makes all kinds of colors. And if I'm losing traction on my front wheels, I have it set so 2 of the LEDs on my top buttons will start flashing red, so I know I'm losing grip on that tire, all through SimHub. And I think there's 87 LEDs on this wheel. It's crazy. It doesn't come with the 3 shifters on the back like the advanced paddle module. It comes with auto P9 buttons that are on the very top of the wheel on the back to basically replace those top paddles. So, and they're in the perfect position. I mean, all you have to do is just basically flinch your finger and press that button, and you can, like, again, I use that for traction control. So TC up and down, if I need to go up or down on a corner, just click that button. It's there. Shifters feel great. I mean, other than they're a bit light, and the clutches feel like clutches. I mean, clutches are, they are what they are. They're clutches. There's literally more buttons on this thing than I know what to do with. I think there's 21 buttons, if I'm not mistaken. There's 5 rotaries on the front. There's 4 thumb rotaries on them. Each one of the front mounted rotaries are also push buttons, and each one of the 4 thumb rotaries are also push buttons. So you not only have the 4 regular buttons on the front, but each one of the thumb buttons you can press, and there's just so much stuff on this. I don't even have them all mapped. There's so many buttons. I just don't need some of them. So it's great to have. It's one of those cases where it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, kind of a deal. And the MPX is absolutely great. I mean, it's a billet aluminum case, 5mm carbon fiber front plate. It's a rock solid wheel. I mean, there's nothing I can fault about this wheel. It's definitely my favorite wheel. So which wheel should you buy? Obviously, if you have the money, you buy the MPX. The Grid MPX is an amazing wheel. It's backed by an amazing company. You just can't go wrong with this wheel. If you want a premium wheel, this is your wheel. If you don't have premium wheel money, but you still want a good wheel, I don't think you can go wrong with the Simagic GT Neo. That wheel is amazing for the price. It's sub $300, and you get what most wheels 2 to 3 times its price are giving you. I mean, I don't know how they're making money. I think what they're doing is just pumping it out so cheap to try to get you into, get their name out there, and it's working, because that wheel is amazing for sub $300. Fanatec is doing Fanatec things. I think they're just sitting on their hands, and they were the biggest, baddest guy in town, and the little guys came up behind them and clubbed them and took over the top spot. So Fanatec, yeah, I can't recommend the Fanatec for $350. If they dropped $100 off of it, and it was a $250 wheel, yeah, for $250, why not, right? Of course, $250 isn't cheap, but it's still a lot better than $350. So if you have the money, buy the Grid. If you don't have Grid money, definitely buy the GT Neo. So I hope this helped you out a little bit. If it has, consider subscribing, give it a like, and I'll see you guys on track.